What's up, Zox fam? And we're back with some more Sword of Convallaria. Now, this is absolutely massive, guys. You can go and pre-register. You can wish list for Sword of Convallaria on Steam, on Google Play, and Apple App Store. This is insane. We're getting closer to the time period for the game to officially come out. Now, they did not give us an official release date, but they did give us the opportunity to see them on the App Store. And if you don't know what that means on the App Store usually tells us the expected release date. So on the Apple Store, if you're looking on your mobile device, it is actually going to say the release date is expected to be around November 23rd, 2023. Now, there's a couple of different things that I want to talk about with that. And then we're also going to be looking at an article from one of the minds of the entire game, and actually the mind of the entire game, interviewing with the mastermind behind Tactics Ogre and Final Fantasy Tactics. So this is going to be massive. Now, one of the things that I want to mention with this, though, is that even though the date is November, I'm speculating that there's supposed to be a beta that's going to be taking place in between this time frame. And so while we are walking our way, and really honestly soon sprinting our way to the official release of this game, this is going to be something that you guys want to make sure you are keeping in mind. So definitely make sure you check out the links down below to check out the official YouTube channel and the official Discord so you can stay linked in with all this stuff. And of course, subscribe to my channel. But let's go ahead and let's get into the article. So with that, guys, they released an article called Exploring the Essence of Tactical RPGs with Yasumi Matsuno. Now, the thing is that Yasumi Matsuno is actually one of the masterminds. He is the mastermind behind Tactics Ogre and Final Fantasy Tactics. Now, the thing about this is that I know for years, people have probably been asking for a Final Fantasy Tactics game or a Tactics Ogre game. This is probably going to be the closest to it. And this is also one of the things that kind of raised certain speculations for me, was that could we be seeing potentially some Final Fantasy Tactics crossovers, and as well as maybe some Tactics Ogre crossovers, and that's going to be ridiculous. All right, so we're gonna get into this article and just kind of highlighting some key points of it that I really think that is important talking points, right? So this is getting into one of the first questions that they had in the interview, and is, what is the meaning of Sword of Convallaria? So Gao is also one of the heads of this game. He goes and says, Sword of Convallaria is the name of the mercenary band that the player's character is part of. So we have a sword and Convallaria, okay? So in the game, Convallaria signifies the beautiful and transcendence of peace. So sword signifies weapons to protect that peace. Now, when exactly did the Sword of Convallaria project start? So Galgosa says, I'm a fan of tactical RPGs and especially fond of Mr. Matsuno's Tactics Ogre. Sword of Convallaria is to a certain extent a game that pays homage to Tactics Ogre. So with that, if you're a fan of Tactics Ogre, this is going to be a game which I have absolutely been a fan of. This is going to be a game to pick up. Now, he goes to say the second reason was that I saw Octopath Traveler, and I and my production team we're also pixel art fans. Octopath Traveler used today's new technology to bring pixel art to audiences again. We also wanted to make a new pixel art game to bring everyone something that we liked. That's how Sword of Convallaria was born. And this is really important too, guys, because this means that this is a passion project, which means they're going to be putting a lot of effort into this game. And the big thing about this is that with that in mind, I can even say for what I've seen, how they've been handling the TW side, they've been giving like a whole bunch of compensation for any like given issue that's been happening. And even just from what I've been able to play, you can tell and you can see the love and the investment and just even the pure detailing to every little thing to give you guys a really, really expansive story and some great gameplay, right? Now, campaign story branches. Now, Masino, so how exactly do players make these choices in Tactics Ogres? Players can select lines to speak. Sometimes they choose from one or two choices. More recently, in Square Enix's Triangle Strategy, they have a scale of conviction. These tilt and diverge the plot. What systems do you have in Sword of Convallaria to make the story diverge? Can we discuss this more in detail? And a lot of you guys probably didn't know this, right? So Gao goes and says, we have also incorporated a branching system similar to Tactics Ogre. And at the same time, actions taken during battles also affect the story and the outcome of battle, right? So the decisions that you make in this game, everybody's gameplay, right? This is the first game that we have had, obviously, on mobile that's going to then still incorporate some form of PvP. But even despite that, the decisions you make in this game very well will dictate the outcomes you get in your story component. So everybody's going to be playing a slightly different variant of story in some way, right? So for instance, if a player acts based on a humanitarian principles during a battle, like helping a civilian, there may come a time when the civilians will support the player, and this action might change the unfolding of the later story. Overall, there are 7 or 8 possible endings. 7 or 8 possible endings in Sword of Convallaria is insane. Now, on top of that, they go into the online gameplay and storylines. So Masuno says, you mentioned earlier that you wanted to make a framework for an online game. If it's an online game, then the game must go on because the service must continue. There will probably be story arcs like the seasons of a foreign TV drama. What's your ideal scenario in terms of story development to keep the service going? How will it unfold? And what are you aiming for? I'd like to know your thoughts. So Gao goes to say, Sword of Convallaria stories proceeds on 2 levels. The online part is bigger and sees the story from a broader perspective. The story must progress gradually so that the service can last. The online part will have complete story arcs. Each arc will be a part of the overall story. They won't be closely relative to each other. While people will be able to keep on playing, each arc will last about 3 months and will complete in itself. It will be almost like playing offline. Like the Tactics Ogre, there will be different perspectives of the same world, and how you play will influence the perspective. So dude, they are really honestly taking a mobile game and they really are trying to step into really giving us AAA quality. Like seriously, right? Now it says expanding the tactical RPG audience. So Massino says, I want to ask about the game mechanics. I played a sample of the game. Many elements seem to be typical of tactical RPGs, but could you explain what's the same as existing games and what's different about it? Could you explain it for the viewers? So Gao goes and says, designing RPGs comes with a difficulty which may be why tactical RPGs are not so popular now. Because their battle feedback is indirect compared with other types of games, the process is more difficult and the gameplay is unwieldy. Battles take too long overall. Sword of Convallaria tries to pick and choose from these. It simplifies gameplay and makes the maneuvers more intuitive, which made it easier but retained the fun of strategy, hoping that users will be able to enjoy a tactical RPG more easily. The story also has a high perspective, which is an advantage of tactics RPGs and emphasizes character building. And I will say, there's a lot that actually goes into just the overall essence of how they approach these characters. They made it to where the characters, like even like I said, like one of my favorite ones that I've been using is Leonid. He has a ability where he can like knock people off the map. Like that completely can speed up and still give a strategic play to the entire map that you're on, and just being able to utilize your surroundings. And this even goes into the map you're on, which is insane. And that's actually one of the next things that they're going to be covering. So it says 300 maps, 1,000 stages. If you count all the stages, daily quests, and so on, how many maps do you have in the game when you are releasing? We have 300 maps so far, and there are actually over 1,000 stages on release. 1,000 stages on release is insanity. So with that, we're also going to have going into their pixel art and character stars. So the animation is extremely well executed, 100%. Even though it's pixel art, I can sense the artist's love and attention to detail. The backgrounds and so on are beautiful, and the illustrations are also very high quality. Overall, I can tell that it's going to be brushed up even more. That's my impression, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I want to play the final or finished version as soon as I can. But I guess it's based on Unity. The engine is Unity, right? Why didn't you make the game 3D? So Gao goes to say that scenes are actually 3D, but they're mapped to make them look 2D. The characters are all drawn in 2D. A normal map is laid over the pixel art to match the lighting and get more suitable expression. This blends the characters more effectively with the scene's light source. And then Masuno said, we did much of the same in Octopath Traveler. And I think that the triangle strategy in Octopath Traveler as well, we could have made backgrounds appear as three-dimensional as we liked. What did you aim to achieve by making Sword of Convallaria look 2D? He said Octopath Traveler is a 3D game with pixel art style. We like traditional pixel art, so we want to use 3D to reinforce it. We also like pixel art's unique negative space effect, which it gives room for players to use their imaginations. Their brains can fill in the details, so they envision more detailed scenes. Sometimes it can outdo a realistic 3D image. And that is true. Your mind does make up for a lot of empty space or negative space. So that is actually kind of intuitive that he's using that in that freaking metric. So for example, Tactics Ogre, the protagonist argues with his sister at the port. He faces the sea and ponders something. That scene where his hair streams in the wind left a profound impression on me. I think that showed pixel art's charm. Deep down, I like that era's pixel art, and I want users to see it in a better form so that more people can enjoy pixel art. Now, creating music with Hitoshi Sakamoto, who, for those that don't know, he is actually the one that created music for Final Fantasy Tactics, and actually I think Tactics Ogre as well. So probably because I love Tactics Ogre, I asked Mr. Sakamoto to compose music because I was influenced by Tactics Ogre. Another reason is I feel the theme is realistic and grave, and I think Mr. Sakimoto's style is perfect for that. At present, we have about 51 tracks. That's insane. Since 2020, in terms of progress, we've been dealing with them in stages. And then the last thing that Gao goes to say is that as a tactical RPG developer and a lover of the great golden era games, Sword of Convallaria is my love letter to fans of games from that era. And I hope through Sword of Convallaria, players today will feel the charm of the games from back then. I hope when you play Sword of Convallaria and you find it enjoyable. Thank you. Now, with that, I gotta say that is just a lot to take in, but I'm actually glad that they did go and do this interview because it gives us a little bit more perspective as to what the team and really the head and the creator of this is envisioning, right? And I think that this is something that is going to be absolutely massive when we're talking about really what they're going to be bringing to the table, what we can expect, and just for some of us, right? Some of our favorite games, like my favorite Final Fantasy Tactics game was actually Grimoire of the Rift, and that was what initially drew me in to go back and play Final Fantasy Tactics, Tactics Ogre, all that stuff. So I'm really excited to see what they do with this. Again, this is extremely hype. Make sure that you guys go straight over to Steam and you wishlist this. We will have some more news going into anything leading up to the official release coming this week, okay? So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. But that's going to be that, guys. Everyone, stay blessed. And yeah, stay charged up.